What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. And on today's show, we're going to be deep diving into the report that the Bulls are looking to trade Zach LaVine. This was kind of the first bombshell report that we had around the Bulls offseason. And it's a good one, honestly, in my opinion. I'll be giving you my thoughts and more. But this is what Jake Fischer said. He was the one that reported it in this recent article he put out. He said wishful executives will keep their eyes peeled on Portland and Damian Lillard. But it's the Chicago Bulls who have started contacting teams, quietly gauging the trade interest in Zach LaVine, league sources told Yahoo Sports. It remains to be seen just how willing Chicago is to part ways with LaVine or if it receives a commensurate offer for his services. And overall, my take with Zach LaVine and the Bulls moving off him is I wouldn't make a move on LaVine unless you love the deal, because I do believe at the next upcoming NBA trade deadline, somebody will get desperate. Like we see it every single year with the NBA, especially when we kind of get to that deadline date where you have a team that's kind of flirting with championship contention, and then they'll finally go all in and make that move to land a superstar. And I think Zach LaVine could be that superstar for many teams that they're kind of circling and saying, like, let's monitor this situation. So unless the Bulls are really getting a deal they love, I would stand back and kind of be patient, kind of just wait to see what you have. And actually at the later half of today's video, I had going over 3 trade ideas that have been kind of floated out there around Zach LaVine. But before we do that, guys, we're closing in on 2,000 subscribers here on the channel. We just need 52 of you guys. So thank you to the 1,948 of you guys who have joined the Bulls Report family. It's been a ton of fun to do these videos. I obviously grew up a diehard Bulls fan, so this is probably the best part of my day is talking Bulls and talking about it with you guys. So if you guys haven't subbed already, just hit that sub button. Only need 52 more to hit 2,000 subs. But now let's talk about it. Bulls perspective from this side of things. Should they move on from a guy like Zach LaVine? Before we kind of jump into like the trade ideas and everything, just kind of taking a look at Zach LaVine as a player as a whole. These were his numbers from this past season. Honestly, when you look at his numbers, you just immediately think to yourself, this is one of the better scoring guards in the NBA. Like 25 a game on really solid efficiency. 48.5 from the field and then 37.5 from deep for LaVine. Very solid numbers. He actually has underrated playmaking, I would say. Averaging 4 assists a game with not having the highest usage rate compared to guys like, Giannis, Jokic, or the real MVPs of the league, still getting 4 assists a game. But this is advanced shooting numbers that we've been starting to dive into here a little more at Chat Sports, and I love it because I think it does a really good job of kind of breaking down the game by by certain plays. So catch and shoot percentage for Zach LaVine, he's at 41.6%. That's phenomenal. Like, you will take that any day of the week, especially from your star guard. On pull-up threes this past season, Zach LaVine shot 34.2%, which is pretty good as well. And then in terms of getting to the rim, less than 10 feet field goal percentage, he sat at 62.7. And if you combine all 3 of these, Zach LaVine found himself 9th in the entire NBA. And I think these 3, obviously it doesn't incorporate mid-range shooting, which I do think is a big part of especially the NBA playoffs, and just kind of the mid-range shooting is a lot of, throw a dude a ball and say, you go get a bucket. But overall, if you combine these 3, Zach LaVine found himself 9th in the NBA in scoring. I think this kind of speaks to, yes, he does have his, I guess he has a liability sort of on the defensive side of the floor, and he may not be the best leader, but in terms of putting the ball in the bucket, there's only about, 8 guys better than Zach LaVine. But let's talk about his contract, because that is a big part of it if the Bulls were to move off LaVine. Honestly, yes, these numbers, they scream out to you like, damn, he is getting paid a lot of money. But if you compare his contract to a guy like Bradley Beal's, LaVine is actually on a favorable deal, I would say. LaVine and Beal, I think, are very similar players in terms of, I both think they could be 2s on a championship team if you put them next to a guy like Giannis, Jokic, or a true superstar. And I think LaVine kind of has the advantage, I guess, if you were trading for a guy like LaVine or Beal, just because of the contract. Because, this is what it costs in the modern-day NBA to get a true 25-a-game guy that can bring you pretty solid efficiency and just kind of be a human highlight reel, which Zach LaVine is. But my overall breakdown on LaVine, there's no denying it. He is an unreal talent, and he is an unreal scorer. Honestly, you can't debate that with me. If in terms of just watching him and just using your eyes and watching him, kind of the offensive mastermind he is, you can see the unreal talent. You can see the raw potential and just the raw talent in general. But does he match kind of the Bulls' timeline? And we've seen the Bulls kind of these past 2 years. They shoved all their chips to the center of the table. They said, let's go get DeMar. Let's go trade for Vooch at that one trade deadline and really see if we could go win something. They just haven't already. And I do think overall with the Bulls timeline, it is time to move on. And with LaVine with 3 years left on a $250 million deal, does he match up with where the Bulls want to go, and does he meet their championship window? I don't think so. No denying that he is a great scorer and everything, but I don't know if he matches the Bulls' timeline. But I'll ask you guys, if you guys are the GM, you're sitting there this offseason, would you trade Zach LaVine? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass down in the comments section. Now, some LaVine trade destinations. These are the 3 teams that have been kind of connected to the Bulls the most. The number 1 trade idea has to be the Portland Trail Blazers. You guys know I've been kind of pounding this table for the longest time now that you need to go get that 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft and go get me Scoot Henderson. But this was a trade idea that's been kind of floated out there a good amount on Bulls Twitter, Trailblazers Twitter. And honestly, I think it's a solid deal for both teams. Like the Bulls obviously get the 3rd overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft, where you could probably take Scoot Henderson. You also get Anthony Simons, who is a certified bucket getter. If you guys aren't familiar with his game, he's a solid 20-plus a game guy in the NBA, and he's a really efficient scorer as well. And he's still young, so he could develop into something. But then the Trailblazers, they're receiving Zach LaVine, Caruso, and Drummond. And I think the Trailblazers, obviously, if you're going to make a move like this, they're obviously going to want to go all in and build around Damian Lillard. Honestly, if you put Dame, LaVine, and you add a solid role player in Caruso, you add a solid role player in Andre Drummond. Drummond had a very strong finish to the season last year. He was a great piece for the Chicago Bulls. And overall, I mean, if you would add Caruso, Drummond, Jeremy Grant, Dame, and LaVine, I think it could work out. But of all trade ideas that have been floated around out there among Bulls Twitter, whatever it may be, NBA Twitter, this is my favorite. I've been pounding the table. Go trade up for that 3rd overall pick. Because just mainly, I think Scoot Henderson's the real deal. I think Scoot Henderson is a franchise player. I expect the Charlotte Hornets to take Brandon Miller at number 2, even though today we actually got a report that the Pelicans could be sending Zion to Charlotte to try to get that number 2 overall pick and pairing up LaMelo and Zion. This side note, that would be incredibly entertaining. But of all trades that we kind of go over here, this by far is my favorite. Number 2, the second team that's been linked to Zach LaVine a lot is the New York Knicks. And for right reason, the Knicks had a very solid year this past season. And, they could be maybe trying to consolidate some assets and go in and try to win a championship during this window they have. But this was a trade idea actually coming from our very own Marshall Green here at the Chat Sports offices. He had the Bulls getting R.J. Barrett and then D. Rose. They would obviously accept his team option. And then we would be getting 3 picks. We would be getting the 2024 pick from the Detroit Pistons. It is top 18 protected, but then it moves back the next year to top 16. So if that pick does come to fruition, it will be a later first-round pick. But then we would be getting the Knicks 2025 first-round pick. Obviously, the Knicks keep winning basketball games. That would also be in the later 20s as well. Then we also get the Bucks first-round pick in 2025, which is top 3 protected. You never know what if Giannis goes down with an injury or something that year. You never know. Maybe that could end up being a top 10 pick, but it's still top 3 protected. But the main piece that the Bulls are getting here, it's R.J. Barrett. And R.J. Barrett, listen, if you look at his numbers from afar without actually watching a lot of Knicks games this year, R.J. puts up pretty solid numbers for a 23 or 22-year-old kid, actually. I mean, just under 20 a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, but it's efficiency with RJ. I mean, 43.4% from the field and 31% from 3. He really struggled as a catch-and-shoot guy this past year in the NBA, and I think if you're kind of that tertiary scoring option, being able to catch and shoot the basketball is a huge skill you need to have. But overall, if we're talking trade packages for LaVine, and we can kind of rank, what you would want to get for him, I would take a draft pick over R.J. Barrett any day of the week. Obviously, it would probably have to be a top 10 draft pick. I wouldn't take the 15th overall pick instead of R.J. Barrett. But if you're telling me the Bulls could go get 10 from Dallas or 6 from the Magic, I'd take a draft pick over R.J. Barrett any day of the week because I want the Bulls to kind of invest in somebody and kind of see what they have and develop them, because this draft class, as we all know, it's incredibly deep and it's a very strong draft class top to bottom. Third trade destination that we've seen thrown out there, the Orlando Magic. And, honestly, this makes sense. The Orlando Magic have been kind of stuck in this basketball purgatory for a little bit where they're, they are bad enough to get a top pick. They have the 6th overall pick in this upcoming year's draft, but they never are good enough to kind of even put fans in seats and even compete for a playoff spot. So could they be wanting to trade for Zach LaVine? Maybe. And the trade offer that I've seen float around there would be Zach LaVine for the 6th overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And then the Bulls would actually be getting 3 solid pieces in Jalen Suggs, Gary Harris, and Jonathan Isaac. And overall, with the Bulls kind of trade situation, a trade like this, just be patient. Like, that's what I really want the Bulls to kind of understand here is just be patient with shipping Zach LaVine, because I really don't think you are in any rush. Like, I like that Magic trade. Like, you're getting a 6th overall pick. You can get a solid prospect. You can get a Jordan Hawkins or a Cam Whitmore or a Jarris Walker out of Houston. Like, you can go in many different directions. But the 6th overall pick for LaVine and a bunch of kind of, not scrubs, and Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Isaac and Gary Harris, but those guys aren't really pushing the needle. Overall, the Bulls, be patient. You have a very strong asset in Zach LaVine, and teams are going to be calling because they've seen what Jamal Murray did as the second option on a championship team this past year, and I guarantee you LaVine can do the same thing, and other NBA GMs are thinking that as well. So be patient. You could always ship them at the deadline if you do want to try to go win some games this past year. But it's going to be an exciting offseason, guys, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Whether it's Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, or Nikola Vucevic getting shipped, I do expect one of them to be moved during this offseason. And hopefully, guys, we're praying we can get that 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. But thank you guys for watching so much. Make sure you subscribe. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.